spike it and take a shot at the end zone or two from about the 15-20 yard line, before kicking that field goal. But so that, first and foremost, that's how it should have been handled out of the gates. Wrong approach from the start of we're just going to try and throw the ball away on every down to run timeout. You can run the timeout and gain yards and stop the clock, as I just explained to you. But so that's what they do on first down and on second down. And we're sitting, and on second down it was extremely frustrating because Teddy Bridgewater had Jarius Wright wide open on the sideline for the first down. He throws it to him and just intentionally throws it over his head out of bounds when he could have. It was a wide open completion. I mean, when you see it from the other camera angle of where Teddy was, it's mind-boggling how wide open he was and why he didn't just throw the ball to him, let him catch it and get out of bounds where he was on the sideline. It was guaranteed that he gets out of bounds and gets you the first down. So error on Teddy there. That was actually decent play calling, just bad execution or miscommunication on what, the thinking was to be between Norv Turner and Teddy. Because then on the fatal third down play, Norv calls an inexplicable deep set drop pass in a situation where you can't get sacked. You can't throw a completion where you don't get tackled, where you don't get out of bounds, The only play you can call that works is a touchdown pass, a deep touchdown pass, a completion where the guy is able to get out of bounds, or an incompletion. Those are the only three plays, only three ways that you achieve success on this play in this situation. So what does Norv do? He calls a deep drop. Khalil gets burnt. Teddy doesn't get the ball out of his hands, holds on to it too long, and we get a strip sack fumble frickin' recovered by the opponents to end the game, and we don't even get the field goal attempt to take it to overtime, where we would have surely beat them because we had been outplaying them the entire game. What's so wrong with just making the field goal opportunity the best you can get and getting the overtime when you have outplayed them all game? Oh no, this idea that we still have to kind of sort of go for the touchdown but not really. What Norv should have did, since he messed up with 23 seconds to go, and then since Teddy messed up on the second play, with that third down play with 13 seconds to go, what you do if you're Norv Turner is you call a bootleg rollout, not a play action, mind you, but you call a bootleg rollout so that Teddy immediately upon taking the snap, out of the shotgun too, by the way, so that he can see the defense, everything, not from under center, which was another mistake that he made. If you're going to have that kind of pass play, it's got to be out of the gun where he can see, not under center where he's got to drop back and then move around. Just stupid. None of the play call from Norv's sense on the final play made any sense. Norv Turner deserves the vast majority of the blame for that play call. Teddy deserves then the next little bit of blame for not understanding the situation and realizing, I need to do what I did the last two plays and just get the ball out of my hand, out of bounds, thrown away so we can kick this field goal and go to overtime. And then Khalil for getting burnt physically, by a really good player on a really good play, and Fusco should have been sitting there helping him. He spun to the inside. He's a left tackle. You're supposed to have help if they go to the inside. So again, you call a rollout play action pass on that third down so that immediately Teddy has the option to simply throw the ball away at any given point in time. And that's likely what you actually want him to do, unless he can throw it end zone, because you don't want to take the chance of completing a pass in bounds and then having that player tackled in bounds. So that's your only third down play, is a rollout pass in that situation where you throw it end zone or you throw it away. And then you kick your field goal and you go to overtime and you win it in overtime because you've been the better team all game. You've just been making really dumb decisions. One time, super dumb decision here and there that ended up cumulatively costing you guys the game by far. So our official film grades real quick, and then we get out of Purple Vein and give you my picks for the week, and then get the other topics in real quick before we wrap up the show. The refs were freaking terrible, okay? People were commenting the refs doing a good job of letting them play. No, the refs were doing a good job of letting Arizona cheat. And then second half, they finally started throwing some flags. And I called them both ways on my grading. When they'd call a penalty that benefited the Vikings that should not have been called, was a bad call, I put those as minuses. I don't, ignore that because it's good for the Vikes. Referees were a minus 10 overall on that game. 10 freaking botches. 3 of them that were huge. There were 2 holding calls that were obvious that they missed on a Cardinals touchdown, and then 2 big calls late in the game that they got wrong that were crucial as well. Special teams overall played well, a plus 15 grade for all the special teams. Blair Walsh kicking well. Let's see, the coaching staff overall combining Zimmer and Norv. Zimmer, not a very good game. The offense played better than the defense played, which is to be expected with all the injuries, as I said. Zimmer only got a plus 3.6 over 3. That's not a lot of minuses, which is good, but the other numbers aren't very much. Norv Turner got a 17 over 6 plus 11, but 2 big minuses. The reverse that was just inexcusable, should have never been called, that resulted in a fumble, and then the final play, final 3 plays of the game as well. Cumulatively, coaches get a 23 over 9, plus 14 though for the game. Norv had a plus 11. Overall, they coached a fairly good game, just, blowing it at the most crucial moments. Offensive line played an excellent game against one of the best defenses in all of football. As a collective, they were a plus 22. Added to the individual scores, the offensive line as a unit graded out 31 over 10 with 1 penalty for a plus 21 rating. That is exactly how you want your offensive line grading out. Quarterback Teddy Bridgewater ended up with 22 over 12, so a plus 10 for Teddy. That's a very good game. You want those 12 minuses to be a little lower, but 22 pluses might be an all-time high for Teddy. When I've been grading him, I'll have to double-check that sometime maybe. Running backs did great. They were a plus 19, 22 over 3. AP was a plus 14, 16 over 2. Jerick McKinnon had a crucial minus in failing to pick up a blitz that hurt the Vikings dearly in the closing, moments of the game as well. Let's see what else we got. Tight ends were not all that involved, 9 over 1 for a plus 8. Same with the wide receivers, 10 over 2 for a plus 8. However, Mike Wallace getting in on the action, drawing a plus 4 grade on the game, and getting his first touchdown in over 2 months. Jarius, the huge 1 minus to go along with his 3 pluses. The fumble in scoring range, that was a first half killer as well. So 2 fumbles, and then that last possession just summing this game up. Well, we'll get to it here. Okay, offensive linemen individually, Khalil had the 0 for 3 and getting burnt on the final play, so he had a minus 3. Worst game, worst offensive lineman performance of the day by far was Khalil. He didn't get burnt a ton, but he got burnt 3 times pretty bad, and he had no real exceptional good plays either. Whereas Fusco finally got a plus to go along with his 2 minuses for an overall minus 1. Berger, 2 pluses, no minuses. Center Joe Berger was the best offensive lineman. In addition, directly alongside of right guard Mike Harris, who had 4 pluses, 2 minuses, one of which was a penalty for an overall plus 2. And then rookie Clem had a 1 over 2 like Fusco as well. So, decent. Those aren't a lot of minuses, though. 10 total minuses for your offensive line all put together to go along with 31 pluses. That's a good offensive line performance against a great Arizona Cardinals defense. Then Vikings defense, Our defensive ends played well. B-Rob had a +5. Griffin had 4 pluses to 3 minuses, though, with a penalty that was declined. And then Daniil Hunter continues to just be a beast. He had a +5 as well. So they were 14/3 as a unit for +11. Defensive tackles as a unit were 10/3 with 1 penalty for +7. That all came from Tank Tom Johnson, who had 8 pluses to no minuses. Another phenomenal showing by Johnson, the defensive tackle. He did even get a little help from Ellis as well, who had 2 pluses and no minuses. But Sharif Floyd had a turd of a game, 2 minuses and a penalty for a -3 overall. So when one guy gets you -8 in the unit, another guy gets you -2 or +2, and you only end up with a +7. Some guy messed up. So yeah, that was Floyd, Sharif Floyd, and I'm a big Sharif Floyd fan. He was, in my opinion, the best defensive lineman we had for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, even more so than Lindvall Hungry. He played terrible. He's getting owned out there. Then we get to the linebacking core, a -1. That's actually an improvement as a group. Kendricks improved to a -2 overall, 3/5. Greenway had a 3/2 +1 performance. And Edmund Robinson finally saw the field instead of that number 59 Trusnick guy or whatever. He was your new starting base 4-3 outside linebacker. And he registered 1 minus and 1 plus for an even score. Actually a better game this week from the linebackers than last week, definitely. And better than I expected as well. Corners. And this was hard because Terrence Newman went back and forth, but I counted Terrence Newman as the safety because that's what he was starting at in place of injury. We had some new guy, Anthony Harris, that we just picked up starting at safety alongside him, and Blanton, who has started at safety for us this year and in previous years, was healthy, but for some reason they figured a new guy and a guy that plays a different position makes more sense than a dude who's just mediocre but has tons of experience. It did actually work out. Let's go to safety play actually first. Safety play was 8/4 for a +4. This new guy Harris was 6/3, and Newman at safety was 2/1. I kind of like Newman at safety, a free safety, a roaming center field type of safety. And then the defensive backs, Xavier Rhodes was 4/4 with a penalty for an even score. Captain Munnerlyn was 4/1, just a beast as he's usually been this year for a +3. And then Trey Waynes was 3/4. A big play, a big minus, but being asked a lot more, coming in, and for the most part playing fairly well. Like I said, 4 minuses for a rookie going against an MVP candidate quarterback and 3 receivers like Larry Fitzgerald, John Brown, and Michael Floyd. I thought the young man held his own quite nicely. So the big take, from this game is the Vikings played really good, and they weren't supposed to play really good because they're hurt and haven't been playing good, and the Cardinals are at home, and it's been a short week to prepare, and you're going out on the road, national spotlight, you haven't played well, everybody's injured, and you go out there and you play great, and you should have won the game, but you didn't. So ultimately, you feel good about what your potential can be, what your ceiling is, irregardless of the circumstances. I think the last game gives you the feeling that it doesn't matter who's out or how many guys we got out. There's still a chance that this team can, be in the game and find a way to win games. But where it doesn't make you feel good is the Cardinals didn't outplay us and just win the game, and the better team won. They made the plays when they had to make the plays. That's not what happened. We threw up on ourselves multiple times when the opportunities to really take over the game and claim it as our own were in front of us. Like I said, 2 fumbles, that whole last 23 seconds, and many other things. So the Vikings beat the Vikings once again, and it just, we got to win these next 2 games, and we should win these next 2 games. So let's get to what's coming up, and then continue on with the show. We're definitely going to pass the 2-hour mark.